my name is Jon Jones. I go by John. I am the EMS program director here at Aiken Technical College. Been here going on 6 years, and I serve on the board of directors representing educational institutions with the South Carolina EMS Association. I also chair the Disaster Preparedness Committee, and I serve on the National Association Disaster Preparedness Committee as well. Started in public safety as a junior firefighter in 1993 in my hometown of Lewisburg, West Virginia, a very small town in southern West Virginia. Really wanted to do EMS at the time, but you had to be 18 and I was only 15. So I started as a junior firefighter. 2 days after my 18th birthday, I joined the Greenbrier County Emergency Ambulance Services, or what we called Fairleigh EMS. It was in Fairleigh, West Virginia, home of the West Virginia State Fair, and started my first EMT course shortly after that. Pretty much lived at the ambulance base. My high school was literally across the fair parking lot from the ambulance base. So 1 month in, I remember I got an award for putting in like 150 some volunteer hours for that month. And it was simply because I was technically living at the ambulance base. Was in the West Virginia National Guard, joined at 17 years old. So between doing EMS, working some part-time grocery store jobs, and going to high school and doing my EMT, I spent most of my time either on the fire department or on the ambulance. And then in 2003, somebody told me they would pay me to do this job. So that was the greatest thing ever. So I was working full-time as a commercial diver and a dive med tech. So went and had to recertify my national registry, because in West Virginia we wasn't mandated to keep it. So went back through another refresher course, got my EMT national registry current. And then in 2004, I started my paramedic training. And so got my paramedic in 2005, worked ground EMS for a while, and then decided to go into critical care. So went into critical care, did some flight EMS, did some tactical EMS, volunteered with the Civil Air Patrol with my kids who were cadets, me and my wife both, and I did a lot of teaching wilderness first aid and basic search and rescue, ground search and rescue. So did that for a total of 8 years. But in 2014, decided the economy was really bad in West Virginia, so decided to get out of there. And we looked at different jobs. I actually looked at jobs in Tennessee, Mississippi, and then South Carolina and Georgia. I was actually offered a job with Fort Gordon, and then another one at Fort Jackson. And then at the same time, got an offer from the University of South Carolina. So I ended up taking the job at the University of South Carolina, where I served as the emergency services coordinator and chief of the first responder program there on campus. Started that, moved down here in October of 2014, and basically had to hit the reset button. I was the new guy in town, so had to start making connections and getting people to know what I was capable of, and developed a very close working relationship with DHEC at the time. Jessica Schmidl and Rob Ronsky became very close contacts to me because we were dealing with some licensure issues at USC that was prior to me coming on board. And unfortunately, the college was not able to work those out. And I left that job in May of 2015, and then ended up going to work at Lexington County EMS for a couple years, a little over 2 years. And there I served on the Regional Medical Assistance Team, RMAT 3, and served as a training coordinator and administrative officer. So my background, my degree was actually in emergency and disaster management, and I've done some FEMA teaching with the National Emergency Management Academy, their basic academy. And so just got really closely connected in emergency management, emergency response. And then job came open here at Aiken Tech, and I applied for it on the request of Rob Ronsky, and got the job and realized I inherited a mess. So we had to work on accreditation, and as of March of this year, we have gained full KHEP accreditation. Basically took a program that was on the brink of being shut down and turned it into one of the top performing programs in the nation. So 100% pass rates 3 years in a row, going on 4 years in a row. We just finished up a cohort. So kind of gotten a knack for fixing messes. I started volunteering with the association back in 2018, right after I started the job here. And immediately, as soon as I got involved, I served as the co-chair of the Data and Research Subcommittee at the time. It was considered a subcommittee. And then in 2021, we had a retreat, and they had all the committee chairs, subcommittee chairs, and the board members. And I presented that we should have a disaster preparedness committee, because they were looking at adding some committees and doing things. And I pointed out, the National Association of EMTs has a disaster preparedness special committee at the time, and that we should have one for the state. So just like anything else, I brought the idea forward. So I got tasked with heading that up. So I've been chairing that committee since its inception. And then this past year, I was elected as a board of director to represent the educational institutions in the state. And then also anything Henry needs me to do, I'm kind of at his beck and call. So attend a lot of meetings, especially with disaster preparedness, disaster preparation, especially with EMD and DHEC, where it's really instrumental in helping us get the mobilization platform and bringing that on board, and also making sure that we're doing a proper gap analysis to make sure that we understand where we are not prepared for certain things and what we can do to try to fix that. I'm a firm believer that the association, especially what I've seen in 2018, when I first started coming around, I could see that there was a transition taking place to where the association is going to be the lead on getting EMS in the state turned around to where it needs to be. Not saying that it's messed up, but there's a lot of things that need to be fixed and a lot of things that can be better. And I've seen the association as a avenue of making that happen. And I believe that I can be a part of that and help tread that path. This thing is, it's a unified voice. We look at everybody's concerns, we look at problems that they're facing, and try to find solutions at a state level that will also meet the local level needs. And that's one thing about the board of directors, the representation there of every avenue of EMS that you would see in the state. So everybody has a voice through their representation on the board of directors. But just like any other large organization, you're not always going to please everybody. You're not always going to have the right answer for everybody. But I think having that unification, having somebody to go to the state house to fight for bills that impact EMS, either fight for or fight against, I think that's very important. And also having an association that is big on pushing education and helping get educational programs available to everybody throughout the state that would want to take advantage of it is truly important. The goals that I have for the association, and we've seen a lot of growth internally. We know membership, is what drives us. So getting more agencies involved, getting more individuals. I know I deal a lot with agencies on the education side. Was just speaking with a director of a county. He's a new director, and I asked him about their involvement with the association, and they're not. And I encouraged him that, this is how we get change. Everybody has to come together. So one of my biggest goals is to get more agencies involved, because I think if you get the agencies involved, then the individual members will come along with that. The other thing is, as we've brought on more paid personnel, which I think is very important, because I love doing as much as I can with the association, but at the end of the day, I also have my other jobs that I have to do. But when it comes to disaster preparedness, I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and having maybe another full-time position or having a team that can help, because when that disaster does strike, it's not when, it's it, or if, it's when. We need people to help man the CEOC, the Operations Center, and the ACC. And so we're going to have people that are trained and equipped. And I think the association would be able to spearhead that, either in partnerships or having, paid staff that would be able to go and assist with those things. Three interesting facts about myself. So in 2013, I opened and performed with Aerosmith at the Greenbrier Classic PGA tournament. It was a Wounded Warrior Project, the opening ceremony, and I actually bagpiped the opening ceremony, and all of us uniformed personnel got to be on the side stage during the Aerosmith concert, and Steven Tyler actually came over and performed Ragdoll with us, and there's a YouTube video out there for anybody that would be interested. Also, me and my wife founded the Iron Medics EMS Motorcycle Club back in 2018, and we focus on PTSD awareness for first responders. And we actually have resources available through our organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and we work with different counselors to where we can get some pre-intake service, and then we can determine if it's work-related and get them through the proper channels to get assistance. And then the last thing I would say is I am a licensed general class falconer. I worked at the Falconry and Raptor Education Foundation back in the early 2000s at the Greenbrier and Homestead resorts. So I'm actually trained to work with birds of prey and to use them for hunting.